Okay, but just jumping in here and looking at your practice from yesterday. Just be careful sometimes when sometimes when you don't forget there's a lot of AI in the app. So sometimes it doesn't work properly. Like this instance, like the 3D is way out of sync compared to what you're actually doing in 2D. You see, you haven't even finished the backswing in 2D, but you were starting the downswing in 3D already. So it's not like for like. So you just got to realize this when this happens and just scratch this swing, delete it. As for your question with regards to the passive hands, let me pull up a pro and I'll show you. I'll kind of talk about that a little bit. You know, one of my favorite swings is Robert Rock, right? So a good way of thinking about this would be, you know, you look at your arm at P3, right? So that's P3 and the club's there. But when the arm is in the same position at P5, so P4 is at the top, P5, he's there, look, right? So the arm's in the same position, but look where the club is. So look at that extra lag that he's caused. So it's a much sharper angle in his wrist. Now, when we look at you, right, let's say there's halfway back, and maybe you've got a little bit too much wrist hinge going back at that point. You want to keep it just shy of 90 degrees, about there, and then allow the transition, right? And don't forget, he's one of the key things when you're talking about transition and storing the lag. The club's got to be finishing the backswing from P3 to P4. And during that period, you're going from pushing in the back foot to starting to push in the front foot. So that then starts the pelvis moving forward. It also starts turning the hips a couple of degrees towards the target. So the lower body is moving, and this is starting your sequencing and your transition order in sequence, right? So number one should be the pelvis, right? Initiated from pushing into the ground with the front foot as the club's finishing the backswing. So that's number one. The pelvis pulls the chest, number two, right? And then as the chest is turning and pulling, the chest pulls the arms, number three, right? And we've done all of that without doing anything in the wrist yet. So that's what you see with the best players. It's like, right, just as he's finishing the backswing, he now starts to sit into his front leg, look there. That's number one. The pelvis then pulls the chest, number two. The chest is then pulling the arms, number three. And then you can pull the arms down to P5, and you've actually increased the lag because the club was here going back, but now it's here, look. So that angle in the wrist gets sharper. Now what you're doing as you start down, because the transition order isn't quite right, when your left arm gets back to P5 there, look, your club's actually going the other way. So you've thrown the lag away a little bit, and you measure that in your lead wrist angle from P4 to P5, right? So that's what I mean by staying passive in the wrist. The hands come at number four, right? But I think your transition order yesterday was one, your pelvis was number two, and your chest and arms were both the same time at number three. So you were going 1, 3, 3, 2, whereas it should be 1, 2, 3, 4. Pelvis is one, chest is two, arms are number three, and then, you know, obviously as you're pulling the arms down, then you can start getting the hands involved, number four. But you know, you're pulling everything down to to P5 there before you ever start thinking about getting the hands involved, right? So that's what I mean by storing the lag. So really in that position, look at where your club is. Left arm's in the same position, look at P5, but look where your club is compared to where his club is. And what I tell people is you've got to try and feel like the shaft just stays closer to that right shoulder, right there. So look at the distance from his shaft to his right shoulder, but look at the different distance from your shaft to your right shoulder, right? So this angle in the wrist is throwing the club head away a little bit instead of storing the lag. That's what I mean by that.